South Sudan President Salva Kiir is mentally and physically ill to lead the country, according to his medical doctor. Photo, file, April 29, 2018, Nyamilepedia. Speaking after his arrival in Saskatchewan, Canada, Dr Mawien Akot, a Canadian-trained South Sudanese medical doctor, who has been in charge of treating President Salva Kiir and most of his senior officials and military generals, declared that most of the South Sudanese officials in Juba could die within the next 6 months if not medically sustained. Dr Mawien could not get into details of what will kill his patients, but he surely believed that majority of the politicians including the president are very sick. Asked by the host of the show, Dr Mawien, if Dr. Mawien would refer President Salva Kiir for medical assessment in order to be impeached by the parliament like the former Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, who was assessed to be mentally unfit and forced to step aside, he said the incumbent president does not even need any medical assessment, he is mentally and physically broken down. President Kiir does not even need mental assessment. He is already mentally and physically broken down, said Dr Mawien Akot. The mental state of our president and his physical state are not stable, Dr. The South Sudanese Canadian physician, who has served as the focal point medical consultant for President Kiir and his administration, has been through a lot of trauma, working in Juba since 2013. Narrating his ordeals, Dr Mawien has been through it all and has witnessed the worst side of South Sudan conflict. I left Canada in 2013, as the head of the medical emergency team during the crisis in 2013 when people die in the country. I was the one who was responsible for the reports to Geneva about the mass graves in the country. The physician narrates. Dr Mawien reveals 8 mass graves in Juba, although many South Sudanese are still debating the exact figure of South Sudanese, mostly from the Nuer tribe, that were killed in Juba massacre in December 2013. Drive. Mawien has revealed new reports on the number of mass graves but not the exact number of people that were killed or buried in each mass grave. There were mass graves. There were 2 big mass graves and 6 small mass graves in Juba, and I was the one who was in charge, Dr Mawien said. None of the officials has ever spoken on why the Nuer tribe was targeted or why the dead bodies were burned, buried in mass graves or thrown in the river as it was done, but Drive. Mawien has explained from medical point of view. We had to do the mass graves because it was a public health hazard. If we didn't bury them, all the pollution would go around the city and then everybody will die. And then what happened? The public attorney made an order for the mass grave, Dr Mawien explained. Drive. Mawien revealed that this decision was made by a team that include himself, Drive. Elia Lomoro, the then Cabinet Affairs Minister, Vice President James Waniag and Nyamilepedia Akot. I was part of the Crisis Management Committee that was assigned by President Kiir to look over the crises of our country, Dr. Mawien said. During the period of December 2013, we received a lot of casualties in Juba Hospital of which I was in charge of. He continued. Mental capacity of the president. South Sudan's incumbent, President Salva Kiir, merited, his senior generals and some of his senior politicians may die within the next 6 months according Drive. Mawien Akot. What I can say about South Sudan, in the next 6 months you will hear a lot of things, without mentioning names. Well, including the president, Dr. Mawien said. I'm the doctor for the presidency, and I'm the doctor for the advisors and the generals including the late General Ajonga. So I know. The South Sudanese Canadian physician continued. Everybody, politicians, including the president, are so sick to the point that within the next 6 months we will hear a lot of things happening, Dr. Mawien reiterates. Speaking on the health of the president and his administration, Mawien said that South Sudan medical system is ruined and dysfunctional. Medically, President Salva Kiir does not connect the dots well, and that has detached him from his advisors and the advice he is given by his army and senior officials. What I have observed is that there is a dysfunctional system where the president is totally detached from his own advisors and his own generals, he said. Mawien believes that President Kiir issued decrees blindly based on what he is told by a few politicians and army generals. You said this is how things have to go on influence and tomorrow there would be a decree and they can't reverse it, said Mawien. The advisors bring papers and President Kiir would issue decrees that are not based on a logically sound mind of President Salva Kiir, he continued. Held by medical ethics, Mawien could not tell his audience how, what and why the politicians are so sick, but he believes that time will confirm his statements. That means clearly a lot of them including the president will die. Asked Dr Mawien, the host of the show. Yes, I'm not saying the president, but you will hear it in the next 6 months according to my assessment, Mawien responded. As a medical doctor, even when the president appears in the public he is not in sound mind or sound body, he continued. The host of the show, Dr Mawien, went on further, demanding to know if the president can continue to lead the country at this point. I wanted to know, is the president's mental capacity, physically and mentally, fit? Because there are a lot of things that come out of his mouth that don't make sense. For instance, 3 days ago by saying that I should have killed these people because these people now have become a problem just for speaking out, for criticizing him, he is saying that I should have killed them. What does that mean to you when someone speaks like that? Dr Mawien asked. The things that he says, these are not his words even when he reads articles to people. Even in the parliament he cannot talk, Dr Mawien continued. How medical treatment of officials and corruption drained South Sudan coffers. Another scheme that has never been revealed is how South Sudanese officials spend a huge chunk of the country money on their health. According to Mawien, medical treatment and its corruption is what is draining South Sudan's oil money. I want to get this through. Those of us around him, the people that are draining the money for South Sudan, are within the presidential unit, and I could be an accomplice because I have written referrals abroad to Germany for so many of them. The last one I wrote on 28 of March, 2018, Dr Mawien explains. So basically you were referring them within the system. For example, if someone wants to go to Germany for medical treatment or Nairobi, whatever it is, it's not necessary for a person to be sick, but if someone wants to go out just to cash check or to get money, he will come to you and you refer them, correct? Dr went to clarify. In response, Dr Mawien illustrated with examples including cases in which President Kiir's press secretary, Ateni Ateni, demanded referrals from Dr Mawien to go for a treatment in Germany. Yes, and you know what they tell me, you make an assessment worth of 50,000 euros including Ateni Ateni, Mawien said. I will say this, and I'm responsible, I referred him 4 times to Germany. That is, his eye is blind and he was blind for 20 or 30 years. I have to be responsible for this as Dr Mawien, and you can ask him if I did not refer him to Germany to get his eye fixed when we know that he lost his eyes since he was a young boy. He continued. Asked if the officials get or bring any receipts for the money they claim, he said no, they get the money, wherever they go, nobody knows. Most of the money that has been drained is for medicine. Did drive Mawien cross the bar? The video, which went viral on social media, has left many intellectuals questioning if Dr Mawien crossed the bar for his profession. However, many intellectuals defended Mawien for speaking out. I'm a Canadian-trained physician. As a Canadian-trained physician I cannot disclose information of somebody, his patients, Mawien said in the interview. Mawien might not be the first medical doctor to speak out on South Sudan conflict and health of senior politicians, but he has spoken openly without hiding his identity. Mawien boldly defended his statements, saying that even if he were to be killed or held accountable for what he said, he would rather do so for the sake of the country. You know what, within the next 1 month or 2 months I might be going back to Juba and I will go to my position as a consultancy position. What I said, I'm the one responsible for it. Even if they kill me, I know I die for my country, but the president is not in his mental capacity, he is not in his physical capacity to rule the country. That is the bottom line, Mawien said.